Today, I'm going to try to beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon HeartGold with only Ghost-type Pokemon. And this is a run that the community has determined borders on the impossible. Why? Well, technically speaking, the only actual in-game encounters you can get are Gengar and Mismagius. However, we do have access to a secret weapon, the Pokewalker, which comes with the games, expanding a few new areas that will unlock some additional encounters for us. With that said, looking at the order of the encounters, their moves as they level up, and the challenges we have to face, I'm still wondering if even the Pokewalker will be able to save us. Let's see if we can beat Pokemon HeartGold with only the first ghost type that we find on each route, no items in battle, level caps in place, and the battle mode on set at all times. And you know, sometimes for these runs, I wish I could consult a Nuzlocke expert to help me through my challenges. Oh, I know! I'll consult a better and more handsome myself using today's sponsor, Polybuzz. That's right, they have a Sylph Spectre character that you can chat with and ask anything you like. And the best part about it is I will personally be updating it with more and more info to get better answers to your questions. But in case you've had enough of me, there are also millions of chatbots you can talk to. Personally, I've enjoyed asking philosophers about the meaning of life, talking to Ash Ketchum about his feats in the anime and some of the Pokemon reunions he's had, and even delving into some of my other franchise interests like Star Wars, asking George Lucas what he thinks of Star Wars after Disney took it over, for instance. You can even use voice to chat to them too.
Hi, my name is Trey. I have a basketball game tomorrow. Well, I'm a point guard. I got shoe game.
I don't care. I do not care. This means nothing to me. All right? You mean nothing to me.
No matter what your interests are, whether it's anime, celebrities, movies, sports, Polybuzz has got you covered with incredible conversations that you wouldn't otherwise be able to have. I've also taken part in cool events like storyline games, which are incredibly fun and can get quite crazy indeed. Download Polybuzz today using my link in the video description below, and use my special code to unlock premium features like stronger memory chat models, unlimited character voice listening, ad-free experiences, and more. I'll see you on the app. But don't ask my character anything too crazy, right? Alright, here we go, the greatest Pokemon remake ever made. Dead Pokemon Edition. I'm gonna choose Cyndaquil as our starter, as this will give our rival Totodile, which does get Bite eventually, so I think that'll be the toughest challenge, as the starter types are neutral against Ghost. Isn't anybody gonna do anything about the creepy guy over here? I'm sure he's harmless. Not this guy again, who yells at you for not barging into his house. Sorry I didn't break into your house in the middle of the night, I'll never fail to do that again. Running into the creepy dude in Cherry Grove City, we have a very close battle where KSI, our Cyndaquil, emerges victorious over... Aw man, they call him the Passerby Boy in the remakes? I miss the question mark from the originals. Maybe this remake ain't so hot after all. Just kidding, fellow HeartGold and Soul Silver fans, do not kill me. Oh no! The thing I warned everybody was obviously gonna happen, happened. The creepy guy staring into the side of the lab broke in and stole a Pokemon. Oh no. Making our way quickly over to Violet City where the first gym is, I want to get our first encounter, and for that we're gonna head north to the Sprout Tower, where only at nighttime can you find it, a Ghastly which I catch and nickname Queen Boo. She has a lax nature giving her plus defense stats and minus special defense, meh I guess. And after boxing our starter KSI the Cyndaquil, we sit here among the beauty and I realize we have a problem. Curse at level 12 is the only way we can do any damage against normal type Pokemon, two of which the first gym leader has. But there might be one answer. Using the Pokewalker's Winner's Path event, after 3,000 steps we can find and catch a Duskull at level 5, which I named Shadow and who has a hardy neutral nature. Not only that, but in this event he also holds the Reaper Cloth, which is completely inaccessible until the post-game in Mount Silver when you have rock climb otherwise. Amazing. We might actually get to fully evolve one of these for the first time ever. Shadow performs very well against the trainers in the tower with Nightshade, which does our level's worth of damage in HP to the target, and is getting tons of attack EVs from all the Bellsprout in here too. I love how he does just a little scare, just a little spook at the start of the battle. It's so adorable.
This little squirt sure made me hurt.
What did he say?
And normally the Elder in here poses not much of a challenge unless you have like grass types, but this time, not only do we have like no way to hurt his part normal Hoot Hoot, but also he has insomnia, so I can't even hypnosis him either. This is bad. I think we have a very slim chance of getting out of here alive. I lead with Shadow against his Bellsprout at least, and we can hit 6 Nightshades to take them both out, getting hit by 2 Vine Whips in the process, as it seems we had a speed tie against the first one. But then in it comes Hoot Hoot. Knowing he'll likely use Hypnosis first turn, I go for Disable, but he went for Peck and we missed. Then, I kid you not, he went for 2 more Hypnosis turns in a row and missed, and then we landed our 3rd Disable finally. Knowing he can't put us to sleep now, I go into Queen Boo, and after getting hit by Peck, I use Curse, bringing us down to just 10 HP, and then Peck hits again, and we survive on just 4 HP in the red. Holy. Now, I execute my plan by switching in Shadow, whose defense is much better, and now Curse does a quarter damage on him per turn. Shadow can't hurt him at all, so it's just a matter of stalling out, and he tried Hypnosis again, after which I disabled it, and were able to successfully stall him out with less than half health remaining. Oh man, that was nerve-wracking. What a ridiculous strategy we had to use. But it's not over yet, as the gym leader will be an even bigger challenge with 2 normal types. But I come up with an even more insane plan, wasting all of our power points against Rattata in the wild, as it can't hit us with anything either. Shadow, why do you have to have 105 power points? Just why? This was a lengthy process to say the least. After forever, we make it there, and I leave 4 Leer power points for a particular reason. It's time for the first gym leader, Faulkner, and I am straight up terrified. He leads with a Pidgey with Sand Attack, but otherwise it can't hit us with any moves. So I lead with Shadow using Leer, and fortunately we land 2 of them, all that was required even despite the accuracy loss. Why the Leer, you might ask? Well, we're going to use Struggle, a move that doesn't take into account accuracy, and with the 2 defense drops we can 1-hit KO it, meaning we only take recoil from 1 move instead of 2. And we're gonna need all the health we can get, as in comes his ace, Pidgeotto, which has Gust, which can hit us and brings us to half before Struggle does like nothing and brings us low. I have to switch, so I get in Ghastly, getting hit for a 3rd, and then I go for Hypnosis, but miss. Now we do outspeed by 1 singular speed stat, but we miss again. No! My whole plan is ruined. We do hit on the next turn after he roosts, but now I'm sure you can see the problem. My only way to hurt him is Curse, which costs us half of our HP, meaning down goes Boo. As a throwaway chance, I send in the Shadow, but because we have no power points, we have to use Struggle, bringing us to 1 singular HP. Then Curse brings Pidgeotto low, but not enough, as Struggle hits him to the red, and our second Pokemon goes down to its own move as well. Oh boy, first attempt down the drain. As per Nuzlocke rules, a full reset brings us back, and this time we have Shadow the Second, who has a Brave plus attack and minus speed nature, which is great, and Emperor the Ghastly, who has a bashful neutral nature. Not bad. Let's give this another go. Upon retrospect, I probably should have had Shadow retain more Leer PP, as there's no cost in doing so, and it minimizes the risk from missing, but fortunately 4 do the trick despite Sand Attack, as we get 3 off and 1-hit KO it with Struggle. This time we level up, which is allowed in Hardcore Nuzlocke, you just have to be at or below the cap when the battle starts. And this time, we were going to learn Astonish, but for our purposes, I decide against it, as that would give us fresh power points. I then switch in Emperor to a Gust and use Hypnosis, and we land it. Okay, we're in business. But not out of the woods yet, as Curse takes half our health, and if he wakes up and we get hit by Gust, we lose. But he stays asleep. Yes! Now I go back into Shadow, and he wakes up and hits a Gust. Curse then brings him to half, and then he goes for Roost. Not good, but Curse still remains, then Struggle does very little before Curse brings him to half again. I decide to risk it and switch, my only option, as Gust hits, and we survive on just 1 HP. Okay, I thought we might have had the range, but that was closer than I was even expecting. But now, it all depends on whether we can land a Hypnosis, and we do, but now, does he stay asleep? Yes, as a final turn of Curse takes that thing down. I can't believe we actually accomplished that with technically no offensive moves that can hit either of his Pokemon. A well-deserved first badge, I'd say. The Shard to Berry guy then comes in handy with a ton of berries that we need, after which... Wait, you're gonna seclude yourself in the mountain? Oh, you mean like a real mountain? Okay, gotcha. Sorry about that, a wee misunderstanding. I'm gonna go give them a lesson in pain. Wait, the Slowpoke? No, come on, they've already had their tails cut off. How much pain do they need? Grandpa's gone. I'm so lonely. How? I'm standing right here. I'm with you. And Shadow's here too. Oh, I guess you can't see him. Beating the rockets out of Slowpoke well, Broken Back Kurt comes back in to break the backs of the Slowpoke.
Oh, your buddy!
With the new badge in hand and the level cap increased, we now have access to a new Pokewalker encounter, a Sableye from the Rally event after 1,000 steps, who I named Twilight and who has a gentle plus special defense and minus defense nature. Finally, a way to hit normal types. But first, we've got to worry about bug types as the second gym leader Bugsy is upon us. He leads with a level 17 Scyther, which is almost always terrifying, but he can't use quick attack on us, meaning all he has is resisted U-turn. Focus energy raises his crit rate, which is scary, but I confuse him with Confuse Ray, and then he uses Leer, after which a Nightshade does a third or so. Now basically, the strat here was to switch out into our other ghost type every time he uses Leer between Emperor and Shadow, as Sableye would get hit neutrally by U-turn, and steadily wear him down with Confusion and Nightshade. He does hit us and pivot out after being brought low, and in order to avoid getting poisoned by Kakuna, I went back into Emperor, who is part poison type. After disposing of that thing, in comes Scyther again, and he went for focus energy again as he doesn't see a kill with U-turn and wants the crit, so we brought him right to the red on a sliver before he healed fully. Another round of getting hit by Leer, and unfortunately missing Hypnosis was troublesome, as he U-turned on Shadow, bringing out Metapod, which fortunately only has Tackle, so it was no problem to take down. Alright, it's finally time to deal with this damn thing, as he goes for focus energy and we confuse him, and now I know even a crit won't KO us from this range, so I stay in, and he hits us to 11 HP, and then our berry activates, so 2 more Nightshades bring him right to a sliver again, even though he snapped out of confusion, as our HP range was perfect, but then I have to switch into Emperor, who he crit upon entry, but our berry saves us as another hits to 16 HP, and we can land the final one to take him down. A bit rougher than anticipated, but that's 2 badges in our pocket. And upon trying to leave Azalea, we have our first official battle with Silver, who leads with a Ghastly, so I'm gonna go in with Twilight. Unfortunately, he went for Curse before Astonish then KO'd him, as in comes Croconaw, which has Bite. And this is our only Pokemon not hit super effectively by it. Astonish hits for not much, and he goes for Scary Face. I now have to switch though as I go into Shadow, and I've seen this happen before, but for some reason he gets obsessed with using Scary Face, so I could confuse him and then steadily wear him down with Nightshade, as we only took 1 bite in the end. His final Pokemon is then Zubat, which misses 2 Supersonics in a row, and 3 Nightshades end up doing the trick even though we hit ourselves and got hit by Bite on the 3rd turn, thanks to our berry bringing us back up. Not as bad as I thought. And in the Ilex Forest we get a great pickup, as not even this guy repeatedly giving himself concussions can stop him from being helpful, teaching Twilight and Shadow Headbutt. After picking up the taunt TM in the gate, we then arrive in Goldenrod City, where I make sure to stock up on TMs and items from the department store and the game corner too. Oh come on Whitney, you're having difficulty with the radio card quiz? Yeah right, it's so easy. Watch this. Stop. Following that embarrassment, it's time for the 3rd gym leader, Whitney, the normal type trainer. And on the face of it, it might appear to be on even footing, with both types being unable to affect the other, but her Miltank has Scrappy after all, meaning its normal stomp can hit all of our Pokemon. That's just cheap, man. Okay, apparently Twilight thinks Whitney smells good. Do with that information what you will. I lead with him against Clefairy, as he's our best bet against Metronome, seeing how he has no weaknesses in this gen. I fake it out on the 1st turn, and then accidentally misclicked it on the 2nd, but she metronomed Sucker Punch. Headbutt then brings her below half, but we get infatuated by Cute Charm. No way. Fortunately, she just used Mimic though, so I switch in Shadow, but she preemptively switches into Miltank out of nowhere. Why? My whole plan is shot, as I was going to switch in Shadow, who I taught Substitute from the game corner. That way we for sure bait Stomp and then can disable it. And I taught Ghastly Protect, so it could even stop her rollout chain that she'd inevitably use. Oh well, it's time to focus up. It then hits us with Attract, and I was like, no! But we make it through for Disable. Of course, when I don't want to. I was trying to disable Stomp, which we get hit with twice in a row before our berry because we were immobilized by Attract, but then we land the Confuse Ray. She has a Lumberry to heal it though, but that was for a specific reason. Stomp then slams us low, and we land another Confuse Ray. Yes! I have to switch, so I go into Emperor, and she hurts herself in Confusion 2 turns in a row, and we land Hypnosis with the berry being out of the way. I can then activate activate our curse strat, after which I have to switch as we're in range of a stomp KO. I can go into Twilight though, who's full health, and then use Fake Out just in case she wakes up, but she doesn't. Then curse hits, and she survives on like 1 HP. Oh, this triggers her super potion, but Headbutt combined with curse and her being asleep and confused has her only land 1 stomp on us, although we do flinch. We just have to hope for no crit on the next turn, but she hits herself in confusion anyway, so a final attack takes her down. Sheesh. Clefairy was then left in range of 1 headbutt anyway, so Twilight seals the deal. Man, I was so excited and eager to show you guys my substitute strat, but I guess I can't complain as we made it through despite the huge change of plans. Oh, that's what it was. Twilight was smelling her delicious tears. And on the route ahead, we can pick up an amazing TM. Oh, no, not Paralyze Heal. There we go, the payback TM for Twilight. We then get access to the Pokeathlon after an intense Poliwrath stare down, and there are some amazing items as prizes in here, but some are locked for now. You'll see what I mean later. Man, the National Park nighttime screen is gorgeous. In here we can pick up the Quick Claw and Dig TM, should be handy before making it to Ecruteak City, where we encounter Bill in the Pokemon Center, and hey, I know you're gonna give me an Eevee, but could you please ensure that there's a Ghost type Eeveelution? That'd be real helpful right about now. It's time to battle Silver again, this time in the Burn Tower, where he has quite the upgraded team. I lead with Twilight against his Ghastly, this time getting confused by Confuse Ray, but I attached the Lumberry so we can annihilate it with Payback from there. Then comes his Magnemite, which you'd imagine would be a huge threat since it resists Ghost, but I have a secret weapon. 4 times super effective Dig from the TM that we got. Nice. Croconaw was then handled quite well with the help of 100 power Payback since we moved second, destroying him in 3 hits with our neutrality against Bite helping me feel at ease. His final Pokemon is then Zubat, which despite being quite annoying was no problem in the end as we made it through Supersonic to payback him into the Netherworld. Not bad at all. We then pick up the Shadow Claw and Strength HM and have our first evolution of the run, as right at the level cap of level 25, Emperor evolves into a Haunter. Quite the upgrade. But not only that, because there's no reason not to in terms of level up moves, I then trade evolve him immediately into a Savage Gengar. Quite a wicked Pokemon to have this early on. With that said, the 4th gym leader is Morty, our Ghost type arch nemesis. However, as I quickly found out, Twilight learned Shadow Sneak right at the cap as well, and with him not being weak to Ghost, he's the safest option, being able to out-prioritize his Ghastly's status moves for the 1-hit KO, then in comes Gengar, and boom, we hit him below half before his berry, then he lands Hypnosis, but our Lumberry cures it. And I know he's gonna hit us either way, so I went for Payback to ensure our KO, as we would survive even Shadow Ball, but he went for Mean Look anyway, as 100 power super effective Stab Payback obliterates him from that range. His subsequent Haunters would have been trouble if we didn't have a Stab super effective priority move, with Shadow Sneak taking them both down to net us the win and our 4th badge. Incredible. What one would have imagined would be among the toughest battles actually ended up being the easiest so far. Well, I've accomplished everything I need to, it's time to jump off. Okay, outspeeding an Electrode is not something you see too often. Sorry, Eugene. Cool outfit though. And here's something else that's very cool. By healing the sick Ampharos and Olivine early, we now get access to the Safari Zone thanks to... Yep, that's his name. Don't wear it out. But more importantly, Safari Zone access means we can access the Route 47 cliffs before it, meaning we can now get to the Cliff Cave on the way where our next encounter can be found. And it is a mere 5% chance to find, only at night and only in this one location, making it one of the rarest Pokemon in the game, Mischievous, which I catch and nickname Wraith, and he has a modest nature. No way! Plus special attack and minus attack. Finally, we get some good nature luck as the past couple challenges have been brutal in this regard. Wraith, my son, everything the light touches is your kingdom. But Dad, it's nighttime out. Shut up. Back in Cianwood City, we hit up the gym where Wraith goes absolutely nuts with Psybeam, tearing through all of their fighting types with relative ease and being able to withstand their attacks since their stab moves don't affect us. It's time for the 5th gym leader though, Chuck, the fighting specialist, and I'm gonna lead with Wraith against his Primeape as well, outspeeding and hitting him to a 3rd with Psybeam, then Rock Slide hits us for our quarter or so before we can then take it down on the next turn. Not bad at all, as in comes his ace, Poliwrath. Now Poliwrath has two moves that can't affect us, Body Slam and Focus Punch, so I hit it with a Thunderbolt I taught from the game corner to below half before its berry activates. Then he goes for Hypnosis but misses, so we hit it to the red with another attack before he lands a Surf to 32 HP, meaning we would have even survived a crit as our berry heals us and he Hyper Potions entirely. With that said, we do outspeed him so we can land 2 more for the KO and the victory. Gotta love having immunity to the gym leader's theme type. Chuck's wife then gives us the Fly HM, making it a much easier trip all the way up to the Lake of Rage, where we can find one of the best items in the game, especially for our purposes, the choice specs to boost our special moves at the cost of only being able to use that move in battle. And let's test it out, why don't we, as the shiny red Gyarados is rampaging across the lake. So I send out Wraith, who's holding it for the quad effective Thunderbolt, and we don't have a determinant for how powerful it is because Wraith decided to crit the damn thing. Alrighty then. Hey Lance, you're lucky this is a Mischievous and not a Fluttermane. In the Rocket Hideout in Mahogany, we pick up the Thief TM, and this has me realizing there is no way for us to get the spell tag to boost ghost moves, as the only wild Pokemon that holds it are Shuppet, which only appears in the Safari Zone during the post-game, and for which we can't even use Thief. We'd have to catch a ton in Safari Balls after all. What a nuisance. Regardless, we press on to find... Wait, Ariana? What are you doing here? And yet again, Wraith goes completely off on the opposing trainers, having Psybeam for Arbok and being unaffected by its Intimidate, and also even Thunderbolt for an otherwise huge Dark-type threat, Murkrow, with Lance, I suppose, contributing a little here and there, but not much. Wait, split the job? Lance, I don't want to murder a bunch of Electrodes. I want no part in your twisted fantasies. What kind of occupation do you have? Well, with our creepy ghoul having learned Shadow Ball at level 33, he's looking like a very happy sadist, as he gets to enter the Mahogany Gym and unleash on a Jinx with a stab super effective 80 power choice specs boosted move with a 130 base special attack. Utterly insane. I won't lose to you in skiing.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
And before taking on the gym leader, I make sure to teach Emperor the Focus Blast TM from the Goldenrod department store, which I think is going to be very handy. The 6th gym leader is Price, the Ice Specialist, and against his seal, I go in with Emperor. Knowing what's upcoming, I know I need the choice specs for enough power, so I have to go with Focus Blast, but we miss. An utter disaster, as now he sets up Hail, which really isn't good for a reason you'll see shortly. Regardless, we do land a second one to take him out. His second Pokemon is then Dugong, a Pokemon that's actually weak to fighting, and we miss again before Aurora Beam then hits us down to half if you include the Hail damage. We then hit our next one though for the one-hit KO. And here's why the initial miss on Seal was so bad. His final Pokemon and ace is Piloswine, and although I think we could survive an attack since he can't Earthquake us with Levitate, Piloswine has the Snow Cloak ability, meaning its evasiveness is increased. Not good for Focus Blast. So I'm forced to switch as I go into Shadow, and he lands the Blizzard for exactly half before our berry, and now the Hail goes down. I go for Disable here, but he went for Hail, not Blizzard. You've gotta be kidding me. He then hits another one now that he has perfect accuracy, and we survive on just 11 HP, and then missed the burn too. We're down at 7 HP before Hail as I make the switch into Twilight, and Blizzard slams us to half after Hail, and okay, I guess we can't stay in. As I didn't have a berry, so in goes Wraith, who again gets hit to half by Hail, and it's exactly half, so our berry doesn't activate. Well, I have to risk it all, switching into our last remaining Pokemon as I know the Hail's gonna end on this turn. Emperor, who tanks the Blizzard on just 12 HP in the red, the Hail stops, and then we land the Focus Blast to KO. Oh man, we almost lost it all there. That was a brutal match. I think I definitely could have performed better. With the level cap for Jasmine being just 1 level higher, I immediately hit up Olivine City Gym to take her on with a special plan. You see, even with our lower speed, we still somehow outspeed her Magnemite with Twilight with a 4x super effective dig, and fortunately, she sends out her second one consecutively, so we don't have to worry about any paralysis nonsense, even though I had attached a Lumberry just in case. With both of them down, in comes our ace, Steelix. This thing is definitely scary, but I know with our Citrus Berry on Shadow, we can switch in safely to take 2 Iron Tails, but she goes for Screech instead. It's a close one, but my calcs tell me we should still survive one, and she misses. is. This is why you don't use a 75% accuracy move, people. Just use a 70% accuracy one instead. And now we land the Will-O-Wisp for a burn. With her attack now lowered, I'm feeling safe staying in, and she misses again, so I get the disable off. Amazing. With her attack lowered and her being unable to use her best move, Iron Tail, we're completely safe to get Emperor out there as she just sandstorms, but we miss our attack, of course, as she just rock throws the next turn. Then we land the Focus Blast to obliterate her and win the 7th badge. That went pretty well, all things considered. Quite a safe strategy all around. After getting a rocket outfit in the underground, yeah, don't worry, man. I definitely won't be scaring people running around like this. In the top floor of the radio tower, we have to take on Petrol, and using the Pokewalker Night Skies event by merely transferring an event Jirachi into our game, which doesn't break any rules unless we send it into battle, I could get the Psychic TM, meaning Wraith could super effective one-hit KO each and every one of his coughing and wheezing. And with zero risk of explosion anyway, since we're Ghost type. Excellent. While training up for our next major challenge, we have an epic evolution as Shadow is finally able to evolve into a Dusclops at level 37. Such a cool Pokemon in my opinion, but not only that, since their level up movesets are the same, I also trade evolve him using the Reaper Cloth that we got from the Pokewalker exclusive encounter, fully evolving him into a Dusknoir. One of my favorite ghost types ever, and a Pokemon I don't think we've ever gotten to use in any of our Nuzlockes as far as I can recall. Amazing, I can't wait to use him. And the perfect opportunity to do so arises as Silver challenges us in the Goldenrod basement. And I had something going on IRL at this moment, so I was very distracted for this battle. I lead with Wraith against his Golbat and instantly fry it with Thunderbolt, after which the big threat comes in, Sneasel. At this point, I switched into Twilight, our only answer to a Dark-type feint attack, and it does exactly a third. I then accidentally used Fake Out, forgetting that Sneasel also has Inner Focus, so he hits us again to a third. I've really goofed this up now, as none of our Pokemon can take 2, so I pray for a low range, and he gets one, so we're left on just 2 HP before Payback brings him low. Jeez, that was close. Realizing I can't stay in, I go into Shadow, just hoping he doesn't crit, and he doesn't, so I land a priority Shadow Sneak on the next turn, but no, he survives on a sliver. He hits us again, and fortunately Shadow has enough bulk to tank it, especially with our berry, so another priority attack downs that threat. But in comes Haunter next, and with its low physical bulk, I'm hoping priority Shadow Sneak can save us, and it does for the one-hit KO. Then comes this Feraligatr, which has Crunch, as I switch in Emperor, who I attached a Colbur on from our mom's savings to weaken the power of that dark move. Nice, as this allows us to one-hit KO him with Thunderbolt thanks to our higher level. His final Pokemon is then Magnemite, for which I go into Wraith as Thunder Wave hits, then he confuses us on the next turn. What follows was a ton of bad luck as we hit ourselves 3 times in a row before getting an attack off, Confuse Ray, but now I have to go back into Emperor anyway, at least knowing he won't paralyze, and he hits himself in confusion, and fortunately we land the Focus Blast to knock him out. Okay, no more playing while distracted, that was almost a disaster. In the basement, the director is a hostage but decides to stay and not come with us for some reason. Reminds me of the situation with me in Rocket League. Nothing makes me more upset, but I can't stop playing it. Wow, Daddy, you're strong. And leading into an upcoming challenge, I remembered something critical. North of Mahogany Town, only after defeating the Rocket hideout here, you can get the Sludge Bomb TM from the guy in the gate. A fantastic TM for Gengar, of course. Near the top of the radio tower, we're challenged by Ariana, and quite simply put, Wraith is of a different caliber entirely, having super effective moves against her Arbok and Murkrow despite the fact that they're fairly large threats otherwise, and Vileplume was bulky enough to survive a Psychic but could only manage a Mega Drain for hardly any damage before another one sealed the deal. It's time for the final rocket threat in the game, and it sure is a big one. Admin Archer, who has 2 dark types, a Houndour and a Houndoom. It took a while to think of a strat we could use without losing a Pokemon, which seemed inevitable, but ultimately, that last-minute Sludge Bomb pickup saved us, as I could attach the choice specs on Emperor, level him right near the cap, and this gives us enough power to one-hit KO both of them, with thankfully Houndoom coming in before coughing, as that might have interrupted our plan. plans a bit, but Houndoom having a dark move was of course the priority switch for him. Also, I realized for the first time, the outlook here actually has the shape of Route 35 north of Goldenrod. Quite the cool attention to detail there. Pushing a kimono girl on the ice, we then arrive at the final gym destination, Blackthorn City, where we can finally access the move deleter and move tutor. Gosh, it's even worse than in Gen 3 when you have to wait until Lily Cove City. And the cool thing is, the tutor can teach Shadow the elemental punches, so naturally I give him Ice Punch for what's to come. Speaking of which, it's time for the 8th and final gym leader, Claire the Dragon Trainer. And she is never a surefire bet with such a tough team under her belt, but I think we have a great plan to take her on with. Against her Intimidate Gyarados, I lead with Wraith, who can fry it with the 4x super effective Thunderbolt off the bat. In comes her Dragonair next, for which I switch into Shadow, and unfortunately the Thunder Wave does connect. Regardless, I stay in knowing I need the Never Melt Ice item instead of a Lumberry if we're to get the one-hit KO, which I think is more valuable. And after tanking a Dragon Pulse, we do land it. Alright Shadow, just have to do that one more time as the second one comes in, then Dragon Pulse crits us. Why? But we do land the second to KO it as well. Then in comes her biggest threat, Kingdra, and I was not expecting to be at low health at this point due to the crit. Not great, but I switch into Wraith knowing she wouldn't want to use her lower accuracy Hydro Pump when we were in KO range of a Dragon Pulse, so the latter hits us for exactly half, activating our Citrus Berry. Now Kingdra does have Sniper, which increases critical hit power, so I go for Perish Song here to put it on a timer of 3 turns, knowing she can't switch as it's her last Pokemon. Then she uses Hydro Pump, and we tank it on just 9 HP. Jeez, that was closer than I thought. With her having only 2 turns left before she gets KO'd, I now make the switch into Twilight knowing I can use Fake Out to flinch her for one of those turns, as she hits the Hydro Pump on the switch, and bam, a critical hit. Why? She always does this to me, but there's nothing you can really do about that. Sniper doesn't even increase the crit rate, just the power behind them, so I don't know how she keeps getting these. And I was gonna fake her out for Perish Song too, such a great strat. I hate this. Regardless, I send in Gengar for the Sludge Bomb, which hits her low and poisons her before her berry. Then we get hit by Hydro Pump again despite lower accuracy, and no crit, so Emperor tanks it and can take her out on the next hit. It never fails that my own channel mascot, Sniper, crits us every time we face her. No words, but we got the 8th badge. Pfft, I love how we're in the Sacred Shrine where only Dragon Clan members are allowed, and the Elder apparently thinks he's going insane, and then, hello, just when you least expect it, I am Cameron the photographer. Okay, I'm gonna keep that picture forever. Well, it's time for another big challenge, the Kimono Girls in Ecruteak City, who we have to face consecutively without healing. And first up, a damn Umbreon. After theory crafting forever, I decided we just have to send it. I go with Emperor with the choice specs attached, hoping to goodness we can hit Focus Blast, and we do for the one-hit KO. Amazing. Now, although these battles are consecutive, they are technically still different battles, meaning we can freely swap between moves between them, and Emperor has incredible coverage at this point, Shadow Balling Espeon, Sludge Bombing both Jolteon and Flareon into Oblivion thanks to our higher speeds here due to leveling up purposefully, and finally their Vaporeon gets smashed by a Thunderbolt to end the gauntlet. Love to see it. And encountering the legendary Ho-Oh atop the Bell Tower, I have Shadow handle it with a Confuse Ray and Shadow Punch combo, even being able to use Priority Shadow Sneak to seal the KO after it was brought to a sliver. Sorry to disappoint you ladies, but that bird was far too dangerous to be left alive. With that, our final road is upon us, Victory Road, hopefully a good omen. And in here we can find a Wicked TM, Earthquake, which I think will be great for a particular Pokemon of ours. And although there are no trainers throughout the cave itself, our rival does stand at the end for one final battle. Against Sneasel, I don't make the same mistake as last time, instantly obliterating it with Focus Blast since it's now his lead. And I have the zoom lens attached from the game corner to ensure better accuracy. Emperor then goes on a tear, slamming both his Kadabra and Haunter to the ground with Shadow Ball since I knew they'd be baited in with their super effective moves. His Monster Feraligatr then comes in, and with the level cap being so high, I'm hoping my calcs are correct, and they are, as Thunderbolt is a one-hit KO on it. Beautiful. His Golbat then goes down to a Thunderbolt as well, after which his final Pokemon comes in, Magneton. And although it resists quite literally all of our moves, we do have one answer. Shadow, who I switch into a Thunder Wave, but our Lumberry heals us and then he Thunder Waves us again, but Shadow doesn't give a damn, annihilating him with a 4x super effective Earthquake for the win. And that triumph allows us access to our final destination, the Indigo Plateau Pokemon League. After fulfilling the rest of our EVs, getting any remaining items and TMs we might need, and strategizing like a madman, it's time for the Elite Four. The first Elite Four member is Will, the Psychic type trainer, and although his main type is super effective against Emperor, well, what can I say? Emperor is a savage, outspeeding and tearing through each and every one of his 5 Pokemon with a Choice Specs boosted stab super effective Shadow Ball. Probably the easiest start to an Elite Four we've ever had, to be honest, and not even any setup required. The second Elite Four member is Koga, the Poison type specialist, and one would think he would be a bit trickier. But having taught Wraith the Psychic TM a bit earlier than you can normally get it thanks to the Pokewalker, he's able to down his Ariados in one hit with the help of the Choice Specs. Then his Muck gets slammed low before using Minimize. With that said, his Black Sludge does bring him out of potion range, so another nails him for the KO. Crobat then comes in and does outspeed us by using Double Team, but what can I say, Wraith just does not miss. As we barely don't KO, tank a wing attack, and then take him down with the second. His Venomoth then gets wiped off the board in one hit before his Fortress then comes in, who resists Psychic, but I have the perfect answer. Shadow, who can't get hurt by him at all, and in fact his only move that could touch Ghost types is Toxic Spikes, except I realized here both of our Pokemon in the back have Levitate anyway, or are Poison type. Hilarious. But I taught Shadow Quant-Effective Fire Punch from the move tutor anyway, so there was never any hope for him. The third Elite Four member is Bruno, the Fighting type specialist, and although his fighting types do have surprisingly strong special defense, ultimately they're no match for Wraith, especially with the Choice Specs attached, as Psychic ravages everything, including his Onyxes, whose special defenses are terrible. And I was nervous about the range on Machamp as it's surprisingly specially bulky, but Wraith gets the job done as the reliable boy that he is. Wonderful. But I'm afraid us breezing through the Elite Four is over, as up next is the final one, Karen, a Dark-type trainer. It took me a long time to even mull over how this could be possible, and with our best plan in place, let's give it a whirl. She leads with an Umbreon of all things, and it was here I realized I have to send it with the Hypnosis, and we land it. Yes! Now Umbreon's Synchronize ability doesn't work with sleep, so we can land a Sludge Bomb, hope that it stays asleep, and it does, so I go for Focus Blast to try and finish it off, and we get it. Let's go. This means we can now Sludge Bomb her incoming Murkrow too for the KO, and then in it comes the Houndoom. I outspeed with Sludge Bomb for huge damage before her Berry, and then comes the Crunch, and that was weird. Our Focus Sash seems to have activated, but it didn't say anything, so does that mean we would have survived on 1 HP anyway? That is actually insane. I don't think I've ever seen that happen before, but anyway, I now switch into Shadow to tank another, but we had the Colbur Berry on to weaken Dark moves, so a Dark Pulse then hits on the next turn, and he tanks it on just 11 HP on a Sliver before being able to super effective Earthquake him to take him down. Yes. In comes Gengar next, and although it would normally be a big threat, fortunately its best move is only Lick, so I go into Wraith, who tanks 2 of them and doesn't get paralyzed before a Psychic can take it down. When her Vileplume then comes out, we unfortunately didn't KO it in one hit, but she misses Stun Spore anyway. Great, not that it was a huge risk, but that allows us another few attacks to take her down after a full restore nonsense and get the victory. That battle was a huge risk, no matter what way we approached it, since we no longer have Sableye, but fortunately it worked out quite well. Well, it's time. The final battle of the Indigo Plateau, the champion Lance the Dragon Master. And this is probably one of the top 5 times I've ever been unsure of a battle, but after theory crafting for what felt like forever, let's give it our best shot. Against his Gyarados, I lead with Emperor, zapping him with our quad-effective Thunderbolt for the one-hit KO. And the one good thing here is that I know his Pokemon order, as 2 of his remaining Mons have super effective moves against us, whereas his 3 Dragonites don't. Then in comes his Aerodactyl, which would normally outspeed, but our EVs give us a singular speed stat above him, getting the knockout as well. Amazing. But in comes a bigger threat, Charizard, who would normally be able to tank a Thunderbolt, but I had attached the Magnet item on Emperor, so he has just enough power to get the job done. Or so I thought, as not only does Charizard survive on like 1 HP somehow, but then he hits a super effective Shadow Claw and gets a critical hit to knock out Emperor in one blow. Since, of course, I opted for the Magnet instead of the Focus Sash for this exact reason that didn't pan out. No, I am devastated. It's all over. At least here, I know we can get Wraith out and hit him twice in a row with our newly learned Power Gem since I know he's gonna full restore. But then, in comes his big ace, his level 50 Dragonite. Dear goodness. But here, I go for Perish Song, guaranteeing the KO in 3 turns, as wham, he hits an Outrage, and Wraith survives on 7 HP. There's nothing I can do here though besides switching Shadow, who has Pressure, as Outrage hits for half. But here, I execute a bit of my original plan as I go for Protect to stall his Perish Song down. Then, with him confused, I go for the Substitute, and he preemptively switches to get rid of the Perish Song. No way! I didn't think he'd do that, as in comes another Dragonite, which hits our sub with Thunder, as I used Rest and had a Chesto Berry, so we're fully awake now, full health and behind the Substitute. He then breaks it with Dragon Rush, but then I land the 4x super effective Ice Punch via Move Tutor, and it gets the one-hit KO. Okay, we're still sort of in this, but then comes his strongest Dragonite again for the Outrage, as Ice Punch then hits him, but it doesn't quite KO on a sliver. No way. He then hits us again, and we survive on literally 1 HP before getting off the rest. Incredible, as he then gets confused. Oh man, the plan is working, but then he hits another to half, and then snaps out of confusion already, and we survive on just 10 HP. But now what? However, I know we're gonna wake up on this turn, so I go for Protect, which preempts his attack, and he gets confused since it still counts as an Outrage turn. I know he needs to hit himself this turn for the first time, and he does, so we get the rest off again. This is unbelievable. He then full restores the first turn, then hits us on the second, and then I use Protect as we wake up, and then he hits us again to 7 HP before we get the rest off. This is madness, but now he's confused again. Another round of this has us brought to half since he hit himself once, brought to 9 HP, then we get the rest off, then he snaps out of confusion, but after his next hit he gets confused and hits himself again. As he hits another to just 3 HP this time, we rest again, and then he hits himself, and I realize it's time to unleash. He snaps out and uses Safeguard, then hits another on the next turn. We wake up, and with his confusion damage in effect, we land the Ice Punch to KO that thing. That might have been the most insane sequence we've ever done on any Nuzlocke ever. As in comes his final Dragonite, and it is not over yet. Not wanting to risk it in case he paralyzes us, I go for Rest, and he Thunder Waves, but we make it through to rest and put us to sleep instead. Then he hits a Dragon Rush, then misses his second, and misses his third, even though we could have survived it, as we wake up and land the Ice Punch, and he survives on a sliver. No! I know he's gonna full restore though, so I go for another, and this one gets the range to one-hit KO. Oh man, I have no words. One of the most insane champion battles we've ever had, and we emerged victorious. Although we did lose Emperor in the process. We became the champion of the league, but the challenge is not over yet. After getting the SS ticket from Elm, we then have 2 more new encounters that now open up. The first one is a Spiritomb I name Houdini, who has a Rash plus special attack and minus special defense nature, who we got from the post-game exclusive Pokewalker area called the Quiet Cave after a whopping 10,000 steps. Then also, a Snorunt I named Shiver, who has a neutral nature, who we got from the Icy Mountain Road post-game exclusive Pokewalker area. And not only that, but I told you the Pokeathlon would come in handy, as there are post-game only rewards such as the Dawn and Dusk Stones, meaning we can finally evolve our good old Wraith into a fully evolved Mismagius. Quite a power and speed increase, and also, we can evolve our newly caught Shiver into a Ghost and Ice-type Frostlass. Amazing. In the Olivine Port, we can then meet up with Oak, who gives us the National Dex, after which we can hop on the SS Aqua into a new region, Kanto, where we eventually arrive in Vermilion City. Which reminds me, we're going to be able to get the Leftovers item off of Wild Snorlax, which is definitely a top priority. Now most of the gym leaders in Kanto do tend to be fairly easy to get by at this point in the game since you usually have a fully EV trained team. For Lieutenant Surge, for example, I could set up a substitute with Shadow knowing I had a Lumberry even if he paralyzed us, which is usually the big threat here. Then, knowing almost none of his mons have a move powerful enough to break our sub, I retaught Shadow Earthquake from the Battle Frontier reward TM so he could unleash and one-hit KO each and every one of his mons. In Saffron, Sabrina is sometimes quite a big threat, but now with our fully evolved Miss Magius, we can finally even outspeed things like her Espeon, unloading stab super effective Shadow Balls against it, her Alakazam, and her Mr. Mime for the clean sweep. Against Erica, Shiver went absolutely crazy, outspeeding even something like Jumpluff, which normally causes trouble, being able to set up Hail not only to increase our evasiveness with our Snow Cloak ability, but also so that we now have a 100% accurate Blizzard, giving Shiver enough power to one-hit KO every one of her mons, even the bulkier ones like Vileplume. Let's go! And even Brock was demolished as well, as the Battle Frontier gives us access to the Energy Ball TM, so Wraith could power through with a super effective or even quad effective Choice Specs boosted move against his entire team. But after beating 7 of the leaders, the biggest challenge of them is upon us. Blue, the rival from the Kanto games, former champion and now gym leader of Viridian City. He leads with Executor as I go in with Shiver and go for Taunt, expecting him to Trick Room or Hypnosis, but he smashes us with Leaf Storm all the way down to just 16 HP. Goodness gracious. That does lower his special attack though, so I can switch in Houdini predicting the Psychic, and we get the immunity. Leaf Storm then does a third, but again that lowers his special attack, and I start loading up Nasty Plot to increase our special attack. Ultimately, he lowers his attack fully with Leaf Storm, and our leftovers now start to heal us more than he can do damage, so I get to +6 before he puts us to sleep. However, this just gives us more of a chance to get some health back before we eventually wake up and land Ominous Wind, and Houdini the Magician gets the Omni Boost. No way, as Executor goes down. Then with that speed boost, we even outspeed Arcanine, and at +6 completely blow him away, and get a second Omni Boost. Houdini has become the most powerful being in the Pokemon universe, quite literally sweeping through his entire team with either Ominous Wind or Dark Pulse from there. So this is the real power of Johto. Yeah, we'll go with that. Not luck. Before our final challenge, let's take a nice team photo for nostalgic reasons. A moment of respite before the ultimate battle. Speaking of which, it's time to head into our very final destination, Mount Silver, where we can pick up one of the best items in the game, the Expert Belt, to boost the power of super effective moves. Before we arrive at the last challenge, the legendary trainer and battle legend, Red himself. Let's do this. Against his Pikachu, I go in with Houdini, realizing instead of taking a hit on someone, I raised his attack EVs enough where I could priority Sucker Punch him for the stab 80 power one-hit KO off the bat. A good start. Then comes Venusaur, who ended up being a bigger threat than I realized, putting us to sleep right away. We then stay asleep for 2 more turns, getting hit by Giga Drain before getting a Nasty Plot off, but I realize we got way too low on health and are in crit range. I decide to switch into Shiver, and bam, Sleep Powder again. Why? As I thought Snow Cloak would protect us. He then hits 3 attacks in a row, even through Snow Cloak, and we stay asleep on the 4th one even. Waking up at all would have allowed us the one-hit KO with 100% accurate Blizzard and Hail. This is brutal as down goes Shiver. We got bad luck in so many different ways there. I then get Shadow out there for the Ice Punches, eventually downing him with half health remaining. This has been a rough start, as in comes another big threat, Snorlax. He's immune to our stab moves, but I use Protect to have him get hit by Hail at least, then land an Earthquake for a third or so. The two of them then duke it out, with Protect coming in handy, but Shadow gets a clutch crit to take him down eventually. Wicked. In comes his Charizard next, which I protect against immediately, and realizing our predicament, I let him take down Shadow with a massive power Flare Blitz on the next turn. Nothing we could have switched into that. With that said, that does allow us enough of a range due to recoil to take him down with Wraith's Expert Belt boosted Power Gem. In comes Blastoise next, and I hit it with Thunderbolt, and it barely doesn't KO in the red. No way. Before Blizzard hits us hard combined with Hail. He then full restores, I kid you not, 4 turns in a row before we can finally take him down. All the while, Hail was ravaging us. But then in comes his final Pokemon, Lapras, and I unleash with a super effective Expert Belt boosted Thunderbolt on it too, and it survives on a quarter and hits us with Blizzard, and because of the 4 full restore turns in Hail, he has the the range to take down Wraith. That means we're left with one last Pokemon, Houdini, and I know we can only outspeed if we go with Sucker Punch. So I use it, and we just barely don't KO on a sliver before Blizzard then hits us to just 8 HP, but the hail is enough to do us in after that. Man, we came so close. That was a hard-fought battle with definitely some errors early on, but I'm proud to have made it this far in such a tough run. We were literally like 3 HP from winning it on both ends. Rest in peace to all our beautiful, well, you know, already dead Mons. You guys were amazing, and it was an honor to work with you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time for another challenge video.